Coffee mugs, cold coffee on the left in Ocala, Florida with Brendan. Rob Browne in Memphis with the Hewlett and Dunn hot coffee. Got some Shadrack's light Ethiopian coffee. Man, this stuff is good. Hey, a lot to talk about today. I love the band, and this is, there was Jimmy McDavid and Mike Brennan had a band like this in high school, a garage grunge band. Weren't they all?
I was in one that we called ourselves Fuzzy.
There you go. And the Fuzzy Wuzzy jacket. That's
We didn't do that. I was kind of,
Okay, I got you.
We were just like, yo, we're fuzzy. It was a tough fuzzy. Like, we're like fuzzy, but we're a little like abrasive.
There you go. Well, in Littleton, Colorado, Rob Browne, Brendan Martin got a big one for you tonight. This morning, take a picture with your phone of the QR code. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All of you out there watching, great people. David Aquadro, Tom Dorian, Scotty Sneed, more great guys. Dr. David Arnoff, Ed Hall down in Lynette, Alabama. Thank you so much for watching. All of you watching, expats, military. You might have some time off. Watch us and share the show. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube Live. Got a great one today. Coach Matt Dean in Memphis, John Hartwell down in Fairhope, Alabama, and Matt Stinchcomb, the big dog, joins us. Might be our tallest. No, he'd be our second tallest guest because John Hartwell. John Hartwell.
Melbourne, keep it down.
And by the way, before when we were just on the podcast and radio, we did have the tallest guest ever on the show. May he rest in peace. Mark Eaton, the former basketball player for the Utah Jazz, at 7'4", and that was a great one. But let's get started with Matt Dean and John Hartwell. A great day, October 2nd, 2025. Lot to cover. And I tell you, I got a hell of a team here. 6'3", 6'7", 6'4", and I'm 7'2".
So, I'm 6'4", but with the afro, I'm 6'6".
That's right, Fletch.
What about Fletch?
At least.
Raised on the mean streets of Littleton, Colorado. Matt Dean, yesterday we had Dana Marquez, my friend I've known a long time, former director of equipment operations at Auburn. He's working with Middle Tennessee State University now as for 8 months. And I'm like, Auburn could use you. Maybe that's why they're doing, but he's working with student athletes on NIL. 3 of his offensive linemen that go to the farmer's market every weekend with him have started their own peanut butter company called, get this, Blindside Peanut Butter. That's true NIL entrepreneurship. You know what? They don't have the budget that a lot of these SEC schools do, but they're being efficient. And it was an awesome show. Turned out he and Brendan used to play in the same treehouse in Littleton, Colorado when they were kids. That's a pretty cool story.
You make up stories. And first of all, we didn't have a treehouse. Second of all, we had mountains. Thanks. John Hartwell and Matt Dean. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. We are 4 minutes in, and I haven't reviewed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Rob, I think Brendan just didn't want to get to the part of who brought the dirty magazines to the treehouse.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Guys, look,
As expected.
I tell you,
John, this view you got going on this morning, I got to tell you, it is very tranquil. I'm feeling very chill right now.
Yeah.
Like that's like got the sun. I mean, you got the whole sun, like rising. I just feel very chill. I had this chill music for you, but
I'm letting the sunshine in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Namaste.
Yes, namaste.
Audrey does yoga. Audrey does yoga every morning, and the dogs climb on top of her, so we have to put them up in cages. Daphne and Delta and the cat Matthew.
I think I would not tell that story again.
I know.
Guys, John and Matt, good morning. How are you?
It's a lively morning. And I was on Shane Matthews asking me to be on his show this morning. He said, what's the biggest surprise about the SEC to this point? I'm going to throw this red meat out at y'all. No dominant team. LSU is 15th in the league in rushing, although Georgia won the league last year at 15th in the conference in rushing. But teams can't run the ball. Kids are pulling over with a hamstring pull, like Dana said, and they're checking out. Is the SEC, are people catching up to the SEC just because of the portal, or has the SEC gotten complacent, fat, and happy? Matt Dean.
So I take a different approach, and good to see you guys, by the way. I think it's the deepest league maybe in the history of college football. And I'll tell you this, The two road wins that were so significant this weekend, obviously in Happy Valley, the Ducks go in and get a win over against Penn State. However, Kalen DeBoer rallying the troops after an opening season loss on the road where they were 2-touchdown favorite to win at Georgia, I think speaks volumes. And Rob, I'm going to take a crazy out of the box here for you because we talked about Auburn football on the phone privately this week. I was looking at the schedule, Rob. Auburn is 27th in the nation in scoring defense. Bama's 28th. So Rob, I will make this contention. Coach Freeze is kind of been known as the quarterback whisperer. If he can get things fixed offensively, Rob, it's not too late because you have the defense. I mean, to go into Oklahoma and where you take a fourth quarter lead, to have the ball twice in the fourth period at A&M to win the football game. I've been there for that 7 overtime game against LSU, Rob. It's an unbelievable environment. If those games are at Jordan-Hare, you win both of them, Rob. So after the bye week, can you win at home against Georgia? If you do that, I think you go on a run. I looked at the schedule. Yeah, you got Missouri, but they're at home. Your two road SEC games are Arkansas and Vanderbilt, albeit Vanderbilt's very good right now. That's later in the season. Can you imagine if you go on a run and the Iron Bowl against Bama could be for a playoff berth? That's all I'm saying. I'm drinking a little bit more Kool-Aid than I was 2
it
days
is the
ago,
defense.
Rob.
DJ Durkin is keeping this team together because the offense, and I asked Shane about that, it's inexplicable. And Jackson Arnold, the same problems he had in his first 4 games at Oklahoma last year, they've resurfaced at Auburn. But coaches are paid to fix things. John Hartwell, are you who you are after 4 games? What do you think about the possibility of Auburn doing a chameleon?
Yeah, you know, I sitting here thinking about what Matt said. I kind of did that little mental exercise the other day too, and you know that certainly could happen. Auburn's got a talented roster, but on the flip side, you talk about Missouri, Vanderbilt, Georgia. They could go 6-6 or 7-5 as well, and if that happens, you know, I know there's some of the natives on the plains already restless. It may cause for even more theater drama come down the stretch there. You know, it's man, I agree though. Hats off to Alabama the other day in Athens because they went in there. You know, and you talk about defense. Kane Womack had been much maligned after that Florida State game. Everything else, the defensive coordinator at Alabama, and they have really brought it together. You know, the big question though with Alabama this week: do they have a letdown? Do they let the guard down coming back home? And playing a really good Vanderbilt team? You know that's going to be a heck of an environment. Vanderbilt has already proven, Diego Pavia has proven that they can play in a hostile on-the-road environment. So I think that's going to be a heck of a football game.
Well, you start thinking about Diego Pavia. These are some comments from one of my Vanderbilt friends. Is there a pilgrimage? Is there a pilgrimage underway to the land of Pavia? Saint Pavia. Pavia for president. Theo Vaughn for VP. Canonize Pavia before the game. A little bit of excitement from the Vanderbilt fans. But, Matt, ESPN Game Day is going to be in Tuscaloosa for that game. It's been 70 years since Vanderbilt beat Alabama back-to-back. You think it happens Saturday?
I do not. And with all due respect, I'm a huge Auburn fan. I mean, I'm a huge Vanderbilt fan, and I'm an Auburn fan too. I just think Kalen DeBoer has gained focus with this team. You know, John, you talk about a letdown, and I agree 100%, especially as a coach from that mentality. I sure hope that they treat this every game like a playoff game here on out. If they do so, I think Bama's going to be Bama. But last year, that's what got them. These letdown games that John's referring to. I think Ty Simpson's playing at a really high level, guys, and I think that they probably do a pretty good job on the line of scrimmage, and I think they win a game comfortably.
Well,
that's my thought.
Ty Simpson is hitting like 75-80% of his passes since the Florida State game. John, when you went in that locker room, if you're Kalen DeBoer, you just burn the tape. I mean, and just move on. But they've got a loaded roster. Switching over to Georgia, and Matt Stinchcomb, the big dog, is going to join us in the second half of the hour. But you look at Georgia. Georgia's 4-3 in their last P4 matchups. They're 57th in the nation in offense, 59th in defense. You know, you've had all these great players go to the NFL, and you just keep recruiting top 2, top 3 classes every year. Is Georgia, and I picked them to beat Alabama in Atlanta for the SEC championship, is Georgia starting to fall back?
You know, I don't know if you would call it fallback. Again, this goes back to how good top to bottom the SEC is.
Yeah.
I mean, who'd have thought before the season started that we'd be talking October 1st, October 2nd about Ole Miss being number 4 in the country with, in essence, a backup quarterback. So, you know, I think Georgia's still a really, really good football team. They have Kentucky at home this weekend. You know, Kentucky, you know, that's obviously they're towards the bottom of the SEC. You know, some talk about a coaching change there as well. So I think you'll see Georgia rebound. Can they win out down the stretch? That remains to be seen. You know, that talking about Ole Miss off this week, but their last 2 games out of the state of Mississippi, they go to Athens and to Norman. So two pretty tough places to play there. Well, so we've had plenty of excitement and things to talk about in the first month of college football, especially in the SEC. And it's going to be a wild ride to see what happens, not only in the next 30 days, but down the stretch in November as well.
It does. And I've still got Georgia to win the SEC. I've got to stick by that pick, but also picked Auburn and Florida to win 10 games each. Still, mathematically, Auburn could do it. Florida could do it if they do it in the bowl game. But, Matt Dean, you look at Florida. The Athletic this morning has a story. Why does Florida keep missing on coaching hires? 6 theories on why the Gators can't win. As an outsider who looks at Florida, I think maybe the fan base and the coaches are like, you know, anybody can win here with this talent, or you got to get the right fit. I mean, Billy Napier doesn't have the personality of Steve Spurrier. I mean, that's the greatest fit. That may be the greatest fit we've seen in a college football program. But, Matt, you look at the Gators playing Texas this weekend. I mean, they could rise up and do it. They've got the roster to do it. And what has Arch Manning and the Texas offense done to keep you up at night pulling your hair out?
No, nothing right now. And honestly, I got 2 things here for you. First of all, I still love the Gator defense. I think they've been admirable in some of these games to keep them in the game. And I'm going to go back to something I think Brendan told me in the offseason I didn't pay attention to, and I should have. The concern over DJ Lackway being in the boot at certain points and not having the practice time and the rep time. You know, for some of the performances last year, I thought he is ready to take the next step. But after listening to some of your shows, guys, and some of the experts on quarterback play that you have on this show at different days in the week, I think I equate it back a little bit when the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky with 13 college starts at North Carolina, traded up in the number 2 pick. I think Lagway's still the dude. I think he's going to have a wonderful long NFL career. I'm hoping, Brendan, with the bye week, maybe he gets some extra reps. He's a little healthier, and the defense does what they've been doing, and they pull an upset. I still think defensively you guys are sound, and I think the numbers show that out. But I still worry about the development.
Yeah, that's how I feel exactly about it,
Billy. Matt. I do think this is a situation here. You know, I mean, as hot as DJ was in the last year, he missed a lot of reps, and I think that's been a problem.
Yeah, well, I echo your sentiments, my friend. Even when you choked up and stalled there, but you didn't notice that you did, which was perfect timing, because I appreciate all of what everyone's had to say, and I think I've been really quiet. And I'm not like I actually not like one of those people. I don't like to dance on people's graves. Like, I don't like being right, in the sense, like, it's not like I went out to like hate on this whole regime. I'm a Gator fan. I want the Gators to win always. right? And then, I'm a, media person. So then obviously you got to tell the story. But like, I have zero confidence that Florida's going to win this game.
Okay.
I have zero confidence that Lagway's up to speed. I have zero confidence that he can get the necessary blocking. But I think the Gator defense is playing great, but I think even great defenses is going to need an offense to put points on the board. I would have sat DJ down against USF. Spurrier recently has come out. I would have said he would have sat him against USF. He would have sat him against Miami. And you got to say, look, he's going to be great, but he's going to need some more development regardless, because he had 3 or 4 months of non-practice, non-reps, new guys. Like, look, when look, I was wide tight end, timing. New quarterback comes in, it's a whole different ball to catch. It's a whole different deal. You got to do reps. You got to know each other backwards and forwards on timing routes. And that's Billy's. And then Billy's offense is not, it's just basic-ish because, he wants to run the football right down your throat and go get it. Hey, look, I all that's great. I just don't have confidence that these guys are going to go against a really put together, Texas team that is waiting for, their little bust out too. I think if you're going to say which team's going to bust out, DJ and the Gators or Arch and UT, I'm gonna say that Texas is gonna probably do that. I like Star, so I know I just think that he's good.
Them busting out on the road. Dave Bartu talked about it Monday. Sarkisian every year, and he's not the only coach, underwhelms the talent a couple of times that he has. He never coaches up to the talent consistently. And I'm Steve Spurrier. If Arch is so good, why couldn't he beat out Quinn Ewers? And Dave put a 93% fail rate probability on Quinn Ewers in the NFL, and his first, game in the NFL in the scrimmages was horrible. But I just think it's about reps and snaps and experience, John Hartwell. I wouldn't necessarily.
Well, I'm sorry, but reps, experience, and then confidence.
Yeah.
Look, if you play a skill position, I pitched, right? There's nothing lonelier than being on the mound when you can't throw a strike. I'm sorry. There ain't nothing lonelier on the planet Earth when you can't get the ball across the damn plate.
Yeah.
You just want to throw a strike and you're afraid to throw the ball because you think I might just hit him. I don't even know if I can control it right now.
Yeah.
That's where, and when you have that, the yips, the dips, the muffs, the toughs, you call it whatever you want. Look, you can't, as a coach, you got to know the psychology of that. You got to put your guy down. You got to create a little bit of, oh shit, I'm going to lose my job. And then you got to get his ass back in there and says, okay, I want to compete. You gotta it'll ignite the competitor, bro.
Yeah.
Stop being so damn calm and get out there. You got, like Urban Meyer says, you got a rocket ship behind you at Florida.
Yeah.
You have 90,000 people on your side. You should be able to go win.
Yeah, there's no, and John, you look at the mental part of it, that's 6 inches between the ears. And these, you talk about the yips. Here's another old Southern term my mom and her friends would use. He's got dropsy. I guess that's when you're liquored up, your head falls forward. I don't know. They can't catch the football. I'm just seeing, John, if you're the athletic director, kind of get inside of your head. You pick the school, you hire these coaches, and you got to be the one to fire them if they don't do well. That's not a lot of fun. You've got a big heart. And I know you do. But that's not fun to have to fire a coach. What if you're looking just at a coach and you've got every resource that they've asked for and they're still not winning? What do you do other than?
Yeah, you got to make a change. I got to tell you guys a funny story. I don't think I've ever told you this. So I'm at Troy in my first AD's job, and when I got there were some changes that needed to be made.
Yeah.
And so I'm about 10 months in and had to make a change. Larry Blakeney, his name was on the field. Don Maestri, basketball coach, his name was on the court. Made some tough decisions, but they had great success, but not in recent years. So I had to make some changes, and I get about 8 months in, and my wife goes, one day I come home and she goes, "Hey, you know what your nickname at Troy is, don't you?" I said, "No." "And why haven't people told me this? Why has my staff told me this?" Said, "Yeah, your nickname there." They said, "His name's not John Hartwell. His name's John Hartless because he's fired 9 out of 13 coaches so far." So, I mean,
oh
yes,
man,
you do have to
Walk tall, carry a big stick.
hey,
That's gonna.
you
that's
know
gonna
who?
stick.
The greatest. You know who was also 6'7" and carried a big stick? Matt Dillon, the sheriff of the marshal, U.S.
Yeah.
Marshal in Dodge City. I mean, John, if you don't do it, you're just an enabler.
Yeah, I mean, again, nice folks get fired all the time, and that you're not getting paid to be a nice person. Now, I will say this, from a having a little bit of heart, it's a lot easier to fire somebody that's a jerk than it is to fire somebody that's a good person.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're getting paid to do a job. You're getting paid pretty damn well to do a job, and you got to perform. I was going to say one thing back to the quarterbacks conversation y'all were having, and the pieces that go to success for quarterbacks. Don't forget about the offensive line. And I know, John Stinchcomb's coming on here. He knows about offensive line play, but the portions of that Penn State Oregon game the other day, watch, damn, Oregon, and I know Matt knows this because he knows that team really well. Oregon has an unbelievable offensive line that not only has the size, but you watch those guys get out. They're mobile. They're big. That, to me, that's a differentiator in a lot of the elite level teams versus, just the pretty good teams.
Yeah. All right, let me throw this one at y'all. Lane Kiffin, he's a hot topic. Lane Kiffin is 3-11 versus top 5 teams and 6-15 versus top 10. So when you think about that, you're not going to win all of them, but you look at James Franklin, look at his record. It's like 4-21 against those teams. He wins the games he's supposed to, and he doesn't win many, if any, of the games he's not supposed to. Matt Dean, you're looking for a coach. The guy that I think in the SEC is a deep discount value stock that has not missed a dividend in 250 years. The guy just finds excuses to win. By the way, John, my son Max just texted me. He's in Moab, Utah, out there running, looking over some cliff, and he took a picture of a falcon coming in. He goes, "I guess he's going after scorpions." I know you miss Utah, but I just wanted to tell you that. But is Eli Drinkwitz?
Yeah, where it's 115 degrees.
Yeah,
but
Moab.
But it's a dry, humid, so it's
yes,
really
that's
not
right.
hot.
That's what we're being told in Memphis. But I'm looking, Matt, Eli Drinkwitz. This guy, what is it? He's an analytical kind of guy. I think Matt is frozen up. But Matt, Eli Drinkwitz, is he not maybe the best value for the dollar of any coach in the league, considering where he is? Matt is frozen, but John, I'll ask you that.
Yeah, Matt just texted us, so maybe he looks like he's just happy to be here. At least he's frozen with a smile.
That's right.
Man, I don't even want to take him down. He's sort of pleasant.
It's like the old, let's go to our correspondent, Matt Dean in Des Moines.
Matt, can we ask you a few questions? Oh,
it's weekend at Bernie's, is Matt? Go ahead,
Yeah,
John.
Eli Drinkwitz and the job he's done at Mizzou, very admirable. He's assembled a really good staff. I'm familiar with a little bit of their success because of a guy named Ahmad Hardy, who leads the SEC in rushing now, who was the leading true freshman running back in yardage in all of FBS last year as a freshman at ULM. But he does a tremendous job. It will be interesting to see these games over the next month because the level of competition definitely steps up for Missouri, and to see how they progress with that. I got to ask you this, Matt, and I mean Rob, Matt, and Frozenville out there, but
Barney,
Billy,
in your backyard there to the west, and I was actually Stuart Mandel is doing an article for The Athletic, and he called me about yesterday. about recycling coaches, and it's in relationship to the Petrino, deal. Is he a viable candidate? Which I know some people think so. I know you got the big 3 or 4 donors at Arkansas, and I understand a couple of them have weighed in on the Petrino side, and a couple have weighed in, say, no, that's not going to happen. But the interesting fact that Stewart gave me yesterday, in the last 30 years, 18 coaches have been recycled for version 2.0. Only 3 of those 18 had better records the second time around. So it is not a winning proposition. He talked to me about it, with Gary Anderson being hired back at Utah State for version 2.0, and it was not a pretty thing at all.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you. And Hunter Yurachek making the comment at the Touchdown Club in Little Rock a couple of weeks ago that you can't win the national championship. We don't have the resources and all. Well, you're the one who's supposed to provide him with those resources, Hunter Yurachek. And I do know Arkansas pretty well. They do have money, but again, every program, you've got those top 5, 10 donors. You cannot keep going to those people. They're going to start saying, I'll help, but I ain't doing everything. That's what it gets down to. When Matt Stinscombe, the big guy, let's bring in Matt. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's bring in
Matt Stinscombe. He just got, hey, Matt, how are you?
Matt, how are you? I have nicknamed you. I told Roman Harper a couple of weeks ago, I said, the Punisher. Nobody, and you're not an attorney, I don't believe, but you'd be a great trial lawyer when you rebut these arguments that the Big Ten and other leagues are trying to knock out the SEC. But first off, thank you more than you know for taking time to share with us. It means the world to us. Matt Dean's going to hopefully be back on, one of our panel members. He's got a son on the staff at Oregon, so this will be a lot of fun. But he's frozen. But are you from College Park, Atlanta, Westlake? Where'd you go to high school?
No, I went to Parkview High School.
And Lilburn, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Stone Mountain Tucker guy.
Yeah. Our daughter, oldest one, lives in Sandy Springs. We go over there quite a bit, and went to St. Pius X. Man, how much fun do you have? Because when you come back on those sessions that you have on SEC Network, tearing apart what's going on, they're priceless. And let's get your thoughts and take it from here. My executive producer, Brendan Martin's down in Ocala, Florida. That's John Hartwell down in Fairhope. And we're all ready to hear what you got to say.
Fairhope.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to live down there, right?
Yeah, stay away. Yeah. We're just transitioning here, but yeah, it's great.
Man, I've heard a lot about Fairhope. There's a bunch of former coaches that are quietly down there. And isn't Philip Rivers? Doesn't Rivers?
Yeah, he coaches at the Catholic high school down here. So yeah, there's a lot of folks down here. Like I said, we're in transition here. I just left about 6 weeks ago, being the AD at Louisiana Monroe, and transitioning into the coaching search and consulting world of college athletics.
Man, well, then you're another one. My old line coach, Chris Selfo at Georgia, who was a head coach at Tulane and then coached for the Falcons forever. He's in Fairhope somewhere. And we go down there and do some work, charity stuff for Pritchard Prep in Mobile.
Yeah.
There's some great folks. The guy I do games with, Taylor Zarzer, my good buddy.
Yeah, he's a Mobile guy, and the guy that started quarterback country, David Morris, who was Eli's backup at Ole Miss.
Yeah,
he's a Mobile guy too. So yeah, there's a lot of folks down here. But yeah, Fairhope's terrible. You don't want to live here.
Boy, people trying to like sell property are sitting here going, boy, what's the matter? He's good.
Matt, SEC top to bottom, like we saw what happened over in Athens the other day. I picked Georgia and Alabama to play in Atlanta for the championship. Picked Georgia to win. Kirby's my favorite coach. I just like that style of him and Will Muschamp, Urban Meyer. That's my personality. But let's kind of walk through the SEC from your 40, you're on the field. You're not 40,000 feet above. You're in the huddle.
Well, it depends. Like if we're doing a game at Neyland Stadium, we're 40,000 feet above the
correct
moon. I mean, to me, this is as fun of a year for the SEC, for a fan, for an observer. it's as fun of a season I think we've had in a long time. A lot of things are going to change perhaps this week, but the number of teams that have surprised, or at least surprised me, my little brain, where I'm sitting here thinking, I thought Mississippi State would be better. I didn't think they would be this good. I didn't think they're taking Tennessee to overtime. I didn't think that. I thought Missouri and their schedule was going to help them, sure. But I don't know. Missouri might mess around and be a contender, especially because of the schedule. I mean, they might mess around and end up in Atlanta just almost all. They've got Bama, and I think that's kind of it. I think Oklahoma lives there somewhere on their schedule, I want to say. But, we got to find out, can Dr. Shin work his magic on the hand again or not? The most popular orthopedic surgeon in the country, probably, certainly in the Midwest. So it's just a fun kind of year. You see Alabama dropping the opener, and then doing what they did in Athens the other night, where I don't know that I've seen a team execute that well for that long, that consistently in an environment that hostile. It's just it was impressive. That was as impressive a thing as I've seen in a while, especially offensively and as a unit. There's just a lot of teams that could be really good this year. People are talking about A&M now, and rightfully so. It's just I don't want to say it's anybody's game, but it kind of is anybody's game. I thought it'd be Georgia Texas because I was super lazy in the preseason, and I was enamored by the potential, I suppose. We saw them in the playoff last year versus Clemson. Wasn't super impressed with Texas. Texas, obviously Georgia got Texas twice. Vandy should have gotten Texas last year. They did not look great on the road, all the things. And then this year you replace 4 guys up front and it kind of shows.
Yeah.
So it's, but because of that, so it's a long way of saying everybody's got some deficiencies. Everybody's gettable this year. Everybody is gettable. Now, not everybody's capable of getting just anybody. I mean, there's a few teams that, they're pushing a rock uphill, but there's teams there's not a team in this conference that can't be beaten. That's for sure.
Yeah. One of my friends over in Atlanta, Roswell, Stephen Patrick Walsh, Vanderbilt alum, said, ask Matt about St. Diego Pavia. He wants to canonize him. I'm like, no, if they win in Tuscaloosa, it's a possibility. But talk about Diego and what he means to Vanderbilt and how much fun, if you were playing for him, it would be, and to be in a locker room or to go out to a bar after a game, of course, after your 21st birthday, of course.
Yeah, that's quite a few caveats.
Yes.
Is there like a law enforcement, the NS podcast?
No. We're wide open.
Okay. There's a couple things, you look at him and he's such a good leader, and we say this a lot and we throw it around. Quarterback's got to be a leader by default. So if that's not your personality and you play quarterback, figure it out, because the position it comes with the job. But he does it so well. There was a play in our game, we had them Saturday versus Utah State, that they gave. Utah State has played twice in the conference this year, and through 3 quarters, they've given the conference team more than they wanted. That's for sure. Both A&M and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt ended up, run away with it towards the end there. But Pavia, in the 3rd quarter, he completes his pass to a guy. Now, I feel bad. I can't remember his name. It was his first target, first catch, maybe the first catch on the season. And by then, the game was probably a 2-possession game, on its way to be a 3-possession game, I'll feel like. But definitely Vanderbilt in control. I share all that to say Pavia completes the pass, and he sprints over to this guy to congratulate him. And it was, he was near hash, throws it far hash. And I thought, that nobody's probably going to pay attention to that and notice that. But this guy realizes, hey, this is his first catch on the season. This is a big deal to him. I've completed 3 touchdown passes already this game. I'm, one of the most highly notarized if not borderline famous quarterbacks in college football right now. And I'm going to run over here and slap this guy on the head just to congratulate him instead of setting up for the next play. They all hustle back to the huddle. And I saw that, and you see other stuff too, where he's blocking. You know, he's not scared to run downhill, and he's taking big hits, and he bounces right back up. If that guy's 5'7", I'll be shocked. They got him listed at like 5'10". That is a lie. It's just
He's like 45 years old, I think. So
yes, no,
I want to see that. So.
But he's just such a great leader and gets that part of it so much that you think, man, you love to play with a guy. And they play like they like to play with him. I think this will be his last year of college football. Who knows?
Yeah.
But Vanderbilt's got a good thing going, guys. They've done things I did not think would ever happen there from an infrastructure standpoint. That stadium, that game day experience, the whole thing, soup to nuts, pregame, postgame, logistics. You're not going to find a better one in the conference. And I did not think I would ever say that. I've done a lot of games up there. They've got it figured out. And they're playing really good football.
Yeah.
We always said when the smart kids get money and they figure it out, you're gonna have to watch out because like I've been a Gator fan for a long time, man. I was like, they're still the smart kids. Hey, I just wanted to ask you real quick, what do you think's going on with DJ Lagway, Florida, and Billy Napier and the whole mess? And you got Texas coming to town. Somebody just asked me what I thought about is Florida gonna pull an upset here? And I said I have zero confidence in Florida doing anything right now.
Here's what I have the most confidence in, and gosh, I'll be shocked if I'm proven wrong, that fan base is going to show out, and it's still going to play. I mean, we came there, Billy's. It's been a tough road to hoe, no question. It has not gone well. Nobody can spin that. And I like Billy Napier a lot. It just has not. It's not working well. How's that for some insight? But we
Wow.
I think they had UCF coming in. UCF had a pretty good record at the time last year's early part of the season. Malzahn's still their head coach, and that fan base was pretty disillusioned at that point. I can't remember. It was probably like week 6 or something like that. And I thought, man, might be down. I don't know. There's going to be a ton of fans. Maybe UCF's going to take over the stadium. Wow, that would be kind of crazy. That would be embarrassing. Wasn't the case. I mean, those fans still showed up. They were fired up. It was a hard place to play. And I say all that because they've had these games. The defense has played well enough for them to win. The offense has been abysmal. They're not the only ones. Auburn's been abysmal, opposite what is otherwise a defense that would allow you to win games. The Lagway piece is weird. And you have to think that the offseason and the injuries and the injury history and what is a very abbreviated career on the field, guys. I mean, DJ Lagway, I think, has been spoken about so much that the impression that you can get is that he's played a ton of football at the collegiate level. He hasn't. Guy hadn't been in a ton of games. He got banged up last year. This we'll call it myth at this point that, if he stays healthy versus Georgia, they win that football game. That's the kind of those are the fairy tales that you tell yourself as a fan base to make you feel better about where your program is. But the truth is the guy hadn't played a ton of football, and he has gotten injured a ton. And early on in the season, even in the opener, you're like, I don't know. He looks really reluctant. He doesn't look like he wants to scramble. And maybe they're telling him, hey, man, protect yourself, stay in the pocket. You're a passer, not a runner. I think that has to change this Saturday. I don't know if it can physically, if it can. But if it can, I think that certainly helps. We can't live in the passing game. I think that's been evident. I don't know that they could have gotten it right fast enough with the time that they've had in preparation for this game, especially versus this defense. Can you get Jaden Ball going? I mean, I think he's a really good player. I think he's like this year's Jarquez Hunter. He might be one of the best runners that we might not at the end of the season really appreciate because of the offense that he's in.
Yeah.
Would you have sat? I'm sorry, and I'll get off this. But I just wanted to know: would you have sat like Spurrier's come out and said I would have sat Lagway against USF, I would have sat Lagway against Miami. I would, but we all know Spurrier. Shoot, he'd sit you after 2 plays, maybe platoon you for the rest of the year. But do you agree with that? Are you the kind of guy to keep him in there and work it out because he needs reps if anything else, right?
Hey, I'll say this. I'm not going to question what Steve Spurrier thinks should happen.
Yeah.
Boy, you're OG, my friend.
Hey, Matt, earlier before you came on, we were talking about quarterback play in the SEC thus far this year and some of the characteristics that are making guys be successful. And I said, hey, I wish Matt would be on for this segment because I said those 5 guys up in front of you can make you or break you at the QB position. But kind of, a month into the season, give me maybe your top 3 offensive lines in the league.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
There's not 3 that I like enough to put them up.
Is there one that stands out? We were talking earlier. I said what stood out to me the other day watching segments of Penn State and Oregon. Dan Lanning has got some offensive line. Not only are they big, but the mobility of their offensive linemen. I think that's one of the characteristics that make Oregon such a tough team.
That may be true. I can't speak to his. I was watching another game that was going on at the time, but so I have not watched that game back. But that may be true. Offensive line play in general is down, has been down. It's been trending down. There's all kinds of reasons for that, I think, that hold up and contribute to that. I do think that there are units. There's obviously talented offensive linemen, but offensive line units, which is how we talk about them, and should really, because it doesn't matter if the right guard has a great game. That does not matter. If the rest of the unit doesn't have a very good game, no one cares. The right guard, that's it. So I'm hard pressed. You could say Saturday, Alabama's offensive front played really well, gave Tyson a lot of the football. That's true. There was nowhere to run. So, you got to do 2 things, Will. You can't just do the one. It's hard pressed. You're hard pressed to find a unit that you're going, this unit plays like a unit. I will say, and maybe this is recency bias, but this Vanderbilt bunch, they play like a unit. I don't see a lot of. They're tied together, meaning they all seem to know what it is that they're trying to do in conjunction with one another. That's the gig. I don't have one guy who hey, great job, good job over here, but then we got this other guy, and hey, man, that's a good looking block. Too bad it's the wrong defender. And the wrong guy, it's still the wrong guy, and you see a lot of that now, where it's like we're not trained well. So Vandy's about as tied together as I've seen. It's Kentucky historically has had really good offensive fronts. They weren't very good last year. They have struggled this year, and I think that must be personal driven. But this is it has not been a great year. It has not been great years in general for great offensive line play. That Joe Moore Award, it doesn't spend a lot of time in the Southeastern Conference. And
No.
For a line of scrimmage league, that's troubling.
Yeah. Matt Dean.
I will say this is my last one. I'll shut up. Also got some pretty good defensive lines in this conference too.
Yeah.
So it's that's part of it.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean to step on you. There's a delay, I think, when you were talking. I wanted Matt Dean to jump in here, and then I've got a question from Doug Dean, a big part of our show down in Birmingham about offensive line play. But Matt, jump in with Matt to Matt.
Hey, Matt. I'm a Midwest boy. It's a pleasure to be on with you. I grew up in the great state of Iowa, so I've been a big fan of offensive lines up there for a long time. Coach Ferentz, who's an offensive line coach by trade. But moving to the South 33 years ago, the first thing I noticed, I went to a Miami-Memphis game, right? And I'm from Iowa, corn boy. and just the athleticism. You just mentioned the defensive line play. I was just like, and this was 33, 34 years ago, I just could not believe the speed on the edge that when you go to the South, especially when you look at recruiting in the South. You also mentioned earlier the schedule and the funness. I tell you what, the parity, man, that makes the schedule more important, don't you think? Because if there's, look at Missouri, if they have the right road games, they have a pathway to get to the playoffs. And I still think the SEC's got a legit shot at 5 teams this year. If you're looking right now, and just what a job by A&M too. I mean, I know it wasn't pretty, 16-10, but Marcel Reed, what a dual threat guy, and Mike Elko knows defense. And honestly, it's going to be a fun last 7 games. I think it's going to be an incredible run here.
No question. So let me say, when y'all asked about the offensive line stuff. So last year, this is obviously, but last year I thought there were 3 offensive lines that I was impressed by. One was Iowa. We had them in the bowl game. And, Kirk Ferentz, O-line guy from way back, they do it right. And those guys roll off the ball, and it's fun to watch, and they're tied together. Boston College, we saw them versus Missouri. Nobody that stands out. There's not a single player that you're like, wow, this guy. But they play as a unit. And Georgia Tech, Iowa, and Boston College were the 3 offensive lines that I thought, man, this bunch knows what they're doing. The D linemen in this league, especially, they're just, I don't want to say it's unfair, but I mean, these guys are just big, fast, strong, bigger and faster and strong, and it's not easy to block them. That's why the mobile quarterback has more and more become almost essential. You can't, and it's not just to add to the run game, but it's because you just can't hold up. So there's something I scare that that coordinator has to respect the fact that this guy, if he punctures the pocket, meaning escaping up and through and not out and around, because out and around there's not scramble yards. That doesn't happen. It's when they puncture that pocket at quarterback that you get the big scramble yards. And if that guy can do that, that changes the way I want to pressure him. It also changes the way I can cut these animals loose. I mean, some of these guys, you give them a green light, there's not a tackle out there that's going to keep them off that quarterback. You got maybe 3 seconds. You don't have 3 seconds. You probably have 2. You probably got 2 seconds before that ball better be out. These guys, they can shorten the edge quickly. And it's not like it's just find ball, get ball. They're smart. I mean, the way they'll rush the passer is smart if you don't have that escapability. So all that, I think, kind of adds into it. The parity piece is a ton of fun. Big portal basher, and I have been. The convergence of portal and NIL, I thought if you're a coach or a player, and people think players are benefiting, the majority aren't. Some are. Many would say are. The majority are not benefiting. High school players definitely are not benefiting. Developmental players are not benefiting. The coaches are all losing their minds. This thing. That said, as just a fan or an observer of the game, I was completely wrong. The parity that it has introduced to college football is unbelievable to me. Teams that would not otherwise be competitive can be in short order. Tennessee's the best example. 4 years ago, I'm going, I don't know how they get this thing back. I don't know how this team becomes competitive again. And then, 4 years, yes, that's right. And then Hendon Hooker shows up, and you're like, this team could be fighting and they're a playoff team a season ago, and they're not in the group. What does Missouri look like without Ahmad Hardy this year, or Prabula? I mean, it's just it makes teams that we wouldn't be talking about relevant, more than relevant, makes them contenders.
Yeah, Matt, here's a question from Doug Dean in Birmingham, who's a huge part of our show. He said, ask Matt if offensive line coaches specifically can still coach their players hard, toughness required to win big games. I grew up as an Auburn fan with Gene Lorendo, Mac Lorendo, Rick Trickett. He's one of the nice guys in the sport. And he's 77. We had him on our podcast a few months ago, and he has not changed one bit. But having that I'm old school. You are too. You played for Jim Donnan. By the way, if you can see over my left or my shoulder there, you know what that picture is, don't you? The 96 Georgia game when Uga almost bit Robert Baker in the swimsuit area after that touchdown. The famous 4 overtime game.
Yeah.
Oh my! But anyway, talk about that toughness, because you are of that breed of people, and you break the game down schematically. Like, again, it's like talking to Thomas Edison about the light bulb.
Wow. Y'all do a lot of daydreaming on the podcast.
Rob does drugs. It's all right.
Gummies.
Do you do drugs, Danny? Every day. Then what's
Every
the
day.
problem?
Good. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that's the last bastion of. I do think that the guys that play offensive line are wired up differently. But I have to wonder. It's something that I've wondered out loud. I have because the ability to just pick up and leave is there, and I wonder just how hard can you kick at these guys. And I had the opportunity to play for Mac McWhorter and Wayne McDuffie at Georgia. Mac McWhorter, incredibly accomplished coach, national championship at Texas, and was a bunch of places, was part of the restart up at Penn State post-Paterno and the whole deal. And Wayne McDuffie, there's not a harder man that's ever coached offensive line ever. And anybody who knows that is the oldest of old school. And to an extreme, there can be way too much of that. I wonder sometimes if we have swung too far the other way. I think part of it is offensive philosophy. I think part of it is, where the offensive line becomes less relevant to the success of the offense with tempo, with formation, it doesn't matter if we're quite assigned right here because the defense doesn't have their cleats in the ground. And so, the RPO, Coach Saban talked about that. This is probably 5 years ago, where his concern was, it was in the 2 years, where his concern was that if you're blocking a run and the ball goes over your head and that happens enough, eventually you're going to lose your edge. You're not going to block as hard. You just aren't. It's human nature to be like, now, hang on a second. I'm over here, grinding it out to block this run, and the ball's just popping out. You're just hitting slants. Eventually, you just kind of expect, it becomes more like a play action pass. Well, no, it was actually a give read this time, but I didn't know that. But it's been 4 passes the last however many times we called it. All of that points to and leads to and almost trains these guys to not play with quite the same edge. It's human nature. I would have been. I'm not going to. I haven't talked to any guy that'd be like, oh no, I'd have been immune to that. I played every snap, snap to whistle, to the echo of the whistle, and blah blah blah. And you're like, come on, man. First of all, we didn't have this. That option wasn't in the game. I think all that points to some of the play that we see now. I think it's partly that. I think it's partly 7-on-7 leagues, pajama football, these elite whatever leagues where you're going out there, nobody can really hit anybody, but we're going to pretend like it's real. And the emphasis on that offensively, and then okay, let's add these 5 other guys that are just kind of not a nuisance, but we got to have them out there. There's some of that. I think all of that kind of leads to where we are now. It's not awful. It's just not great. And in a line of scrimmage league, it hasn't been getting better. I feel like it's been getting worse.
Matt, do you feel like AI will play a role in the future in what we're doing with seeing? We talk to a lot of people who are way smarter than Rob and I, like way smarter, but they talk about like having bio readouts, sensors on players, being able to tell guys who are gassed, guys who are, have you heard of any stuff like that coming down the line? These stuff is being, developed at Auburn, University of Florida. They're leading the way in some of this development, this technology. Coaches are implementing it in baseball. Have you considered any of that kind of thing, or have you heard anything like that?
I mean, you hear about these guys with like the catapult systems and all this other that measures, how fast how much they're exerting themselves and all that. I have heard of that. I'm not sure. So the answer is, I've heard of the biometric stuff, the measurement, the velocity, how fast this guy was running, and we're faster at night than we are during the day, and blah, blah, when it's at this temperature and all those things, which all kind of makes sense and hangs together. I do wonder, in game, how valuable some of that stuff actually is, where I think, especially among the big bodies, the issue with the big body is once that guy's legs are gone, you're not going to get him back. That's it. You can't kill your horses. And that's what, even before we had all those measurements, that's going to always be a fact, where you can show me a readout, or I can walk over there to the bench and look at this dude and say, and so either we find somebody else like him, or we find a way to get motivated enough to prop up for another quarter. And that's the part where I'm like, it's great to know some of these things, but it's like going to the Mayo Clinic and getting like a full body scan, and they tell you all this stuff that's wrong with you. And then they say, and by the way, there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm like, okay, great. So what did we just accomplish? Other than ruining my ability to fall asleep at night, what did we just do here? I mean, here's 10 things wrong with you. You got a slip disc and a this, that, and the other thing. Great. What can we do about it, Doc? Nothing. Just keep that crap to yourself then.
Matt,
we'll know then. But some of the stuff I'm like, great, we know it. Now, what are we going to do different?
Yeah. Matt, look, I know you got to go. You got a big day ahead of you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. This really has been fascinating, and we got to do it again if you'll come back on with us. Let people know how they can follow you, keep up with you, because I love watching you, the way you do the games with Taylor. It's beyond entertaining. It's educational.
SEC Network, I guess, Tuesday, Saturdays. They're welcome to watch. I don't want anybody following me. That makes me nervous.
All right.
Where are you this week?
We're off this week. We don't have a game. So many. I think we got 7 teams that are off.
Yeah. 7 teams.
We said, hey, I'll raise my hand and sit on the couch for a Saturday.
And then you have the hard run till what, January or?
Yeah. Yep. So, with the 2 bye weeks, because we got that extra Saturday in the fall, we got the 2 bye weeks a couple of years in a row now. It's the second year. So we'll, but then afterwards, it'll be a straight shot to bowl season, I think.
Well, man, I used to work in TV trucks and stuff. I know the grind. So, man, good luck to you. Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, this is great, Matt. And I know I tried a lot, but we definitely want to do it again soon, because like Roman, you're a truth broker, but you're also the punisher for those outside leagues. Talk about the competition.
Well, I know.
He's right, though. But anyway, Matt,
you're the punisher from now on. I'm gonna get you a T-shirt.
Oh, boy.
No, but you're right though about what you said about these edge rushers and the athleticism. But if you ever go into coaching, it'll be fun to watch.
That's not going to happen. But this is fun.
All right, thank you
Matt,
so much.
let me know when you come to Fairhope. Just come by yourself. Don't bring the rest of Atlanta with you.
Bring your friends. BYOB.
All right. Thank you, man. Let's say something real quick. Guys, that was a lot of fun. We are blessed to have great sponsors. Landers Ford open every day of the week except Sunday. Pro Athletes Hemp Association, the Lights Out Gummies, 25% off. They'll make you sleep at night. Also, the chill, the energy, and the topical pain gels and lotions, they work. Ask the Eggman, they work. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, right down the street from Landers Ford, Poplar and Houston Levy. Hewlett & Dunn's open every day of the week except Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All the new stuff's coming in every day. Barber, Filson, Stetson, you cannot find better stuff. And Rumble Boxing, Union and McLean, how you fight is how you live, open every day of the week. Click on these QR codes on all of them. Guys, great show. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We're the most blessed people in the greatest country in the history of the world. Remember, every day is an opportunity to get better and make other people's lives better as well. Stay tuned to this channel tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boys.
Night, guys.
Hey.
Good night.
Oh yeah, up next on this channel, Kevin Skarbinski is going to be on at 12 o'clock Eastern. Scarbo knows, breaking it down further. And then tonight, you got the Buddy Martin Show at 9 p.m. Eastern. You've been watching Rob Browne's SEC Sidelines. Check us out on the QR codes and the chats and everything else. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Thanks, everybody. We will see you soon.